I was reading up on your family's legacy in the EACS system. How far does it extend back?
Leland started back in like '63, started back teaching here at Woodlan.
Okay.
And then I came in '65, actually met him here, and we started dating from here. So our legacy together is, you know, way back.
Right.
Way, way back. And then I taught for 3 years. We were married then the next year, and then I taught for 3 years and quit for 13 and had 4 kids. So I think with Lee, you know, he was determined that he wanted to be, after he was at Purdue for about 3 years, he decided that he wanted to be a football coach. So I think he directly influenced Lee. Now, as far as our oldest daughter, Lynn, we always felt like she'd make the best teacher ever. And at first, she was not into that at all. She was into fashion merchandising and some other things, but then she decided that later that maybe teaching wasn't so bad, and I think she pretty much loves it now. So she came around. She really came around.
What did you used to teach?
I used to teach speech and English.
Okay. So all told, let's see if we combine your husband's years, your children's years, your daughter-in-law's years. How many years are we talking all told in terms of investing in the educational system at EACS?
Mega years. I'm trying to think. I would have to figure that out. He taught 44 years. I taught 31 years. Lee taught 13, I believe. I'd have to really figure that out. Lynn taught at least 13. 15 years, yeah.
So we're talking over 100 years.
We are. And then Haley has been teaching for at least probably the last 10 years. And Dave, I didn't even mention Dave. Oh my goodness, we have a lot. We're talking way over 100 years. Way over 100 years.
So we're looking at not just your children, but also your daughter-in-law, your son-in-law as well. So how many people all told?
That were in teaching? 5.
Wow, okay. Why EACS?
Actually, do you know, I was at Michigan State, and my last year that I was at Michigan State, I lived in a house with a bunch of other people, and a lady from Fort Wayne came up, and she knew that I was, you know, starting to look for a job, and she told me, you know what, East Allen County is the place to go, and she told me to contact Paul Harding, which I did, met with him personally, and he hired me. Really on the spot, and so that's how I got here. And Leland, I think he had a similar experience. I think someone recommended East Allen, but he's from Monroeville, so he was very familiar with it. And then my kids, all 4 went to Woodlan High School, and then except 2 of my grandkids went to Woodlan. So, you know, we really bleed blue. We really do, you know. We're Woodland all the way here, kind of, right?
Do you think that your family stands out as an example of what just one family can do for the enrichment of an educational system?
It's hard to say. I would hope so. I would hope so. We've all, you know, we're all strong opponents for East Allen County. We're all strong, you know, we all love teaching. I mean, I really did. I think that was, you know, my perfect job. And I know, yes, I think so. I think we all loved it, yeah. So.
And what do you do now?
Now I'm actually retired, but I am on the school board for East Allen County.
Do you like that better than teaching?
I don't know about better, but, but I do like it. I do like it. Actually, I'm coming up for re-election in November, so we'll see how that goes. But it's been good. You know, and actually the East Allen thing, Leland was actually on the board, and the last 2 years his health was really bad, and so Dr. Folks asked if I would consider replacing him. And I was really hesitant about whether or not to do that or not. But the last time I took Leland to the board meeting, he was really struggling to move. He had some mobility problems, and he was really struggling. So I asked him if he'd mind if I would take over, and he goes, "Oh, please do." He said, "I just don't think I can do it anymore." So that's how I have served the last 2 years. So.
Anything you wish to add, Gail, that I haven't already asked?
just, we're very honored, very humbled by the fact that, you know, they've named the football field after Leland. And his legacy is, I think the kids and I have realized that his legacy is even greater than we thought, because I've gotten so many comments from so many people and cards and letters and phone calls that people that said that he really touched their lives. He was very, very humble. I mean, very humble. So, you know, I'm not sure how he would have taken all that, but I mean, it's really given us a really sense of his value. I mean, it's just amazing. Really, it's overwhelming. So.
Well, I'm in my 16th year.
Okay.
He's longer than me.
26 for me. This is my 26th year, so.
And did both you guys attend Woodlan?
I attended Woodland.
Okay.
I
You
did, and I
did
went to
not.
Northside. I met them all out here when I came out here to teach in 2000, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of being part of the Etzler heritage here, the legend, how does that feel?
You know what? Since Dad has passed, we have just been overwhelmed and honored by how many people's lives he's affected. And I know as an educator, I feel like if I have the ability to impact even a fraction of the lives that he has, like I will feel like I've done my job.
Is that why you went into teaching? Because of your dad?
Well, actually, my parents sort of wanted me to be a teacher when I went to college the first time, and I didn't really want to do it. And they sort of saw me as a teacher before I saw myself as a teacher. So I went to school for fashion merchandising, and I remember my dad saying something like, "This is going to cost me some money." And it sort of came back to me later. I mean, I come from a whole family of teachers, so my oldest two children were in elementary school, and I was volunteering a little bit, different things that they had, and I'm like, you know what, I just really want to be a part of it. So I went back to school for my teaching degree. So it's my second career.
You guys were sharing a
Yeah.
story with me earlier regarding an upcoming anniversary that didn't happen. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, they wanted to, they just opened the turf field this fall, and they wanted Leland to do the coin toss, you know, Etzler Field coin toss, and he was really looking forward to it.
He was looking forward to it, yeah.
He was asking Lynn, you know, did you bring me my 50-cent piece, things like that, and unfortunately he didn't make it. He had a stroke a couple days before they were actually going to do it, and we just couldn't get him out there. But I know he was excited about it. I know he's looking forward to it, and he, you know, he loved Woodland football, and he was really excited about that, and so that was sad. That was sad, him not being able to do that, because I think a lot of people out here would have been anxious to see him and talk to him, and I think he would have enjoyed that too. So getting out here and seeing the field. So he saw pictures of it, but he never got to go on it. So
He was proud of those pictures. Every time we went to see him, he'd get the pictures out.
yeah,
So, yeah.
he was. He was.
Do you participate in football at all, David?
I run the clock for the home games. I
Okay.
do stats for a lot of the road games. So I'm involved. And when I came out here, it's funny. I came out here to teach, but I came out here as a basketball coach too. And I said, one of the people I have to get along with is the football coach. And I came over from Snyder, and I asked Russ Isaacs at the time, I said, so who's the football coach at Woodland? I mean, I literally had no idea. And he kind of had this incredulous look on his face like, well, Leland Etzler. And Russ, who I respected as much as any coach I knew, went on and on about what an amazing guy Leland Etzler was, and how virtuous he was, and how hard he worked, and how well respected he was in the coaching fraternity. So then I felt like an idiot, and but so I called the AD at the time, hooked me up with Leland. Leland took me out to Bob's, and if you know Leland, that's an absolutely appropriate place for Leland Etzler to take you to lunch. Was Bob's in Woodburn here, and he was wonderful to me. He was wonderful to me as a fellow coach. When he became my father-in-law, he was just as wonderful then. I mean, other than my father, he's the most influential man in my life, and I don't know that I could pay him a higher compliment than that. He was, whenever he needed help, he helped me. Whenever I needed support, he supported me. And no, I'll miss him. I'll miss him. He was he's a very funny guy too, and I don't know how much of that has come out, you know, and all this stuff. But that's what I tell people.
He had
I
a
said,
funny sense of humor.
I'll miss his sense of humor as much as anything,
Yeah.
because he was a genuinely funny guy who, you know, so yeah.
All of you,
Yeah.
though, it seems like, you know, the children and the daughter-in-law, the son-in-law, you guys are all continuing his legacy. Do you feel that?
We're happy to do that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and really, you know, Leland, I mean, he's a football coach, but he really thought of himself as an educator out there, and football was his tool to teach kids values, teamwork, life skills, things like that. I mean, he wanted to win games, of course, every coach does, but he really, I mean, he saw it a lot more than that, and I think the reaction that's happened the last few weeks wasn't because Leland won a lot of football games. It was because Leland, you know, it didn't just change our lives, but changed the lives of all these people he came into contact with. And when you think it's 40 years, 40 times, you know, 40, 50 people in a program, I mean, the math of that is, and you know, I thought Lynn used a good word, overwhelmed, about just how people felt about him. It was, it kind of makes you think, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, to know how many lives he's affected, and even so many people that came through during the visitation said, like, things he's taught me, I've taught my kids. And one of the things he did is he wrote letters. Well, he was doing home visits before home visits was sort of a scheduled thing that educators were encouraging us to do. But he wrote letters to his players in the off season, and we've had a chance to read some of those, and they're really cool. But it wasn't just about football; it was about him trying to encourage these young men to be better people. So, yeah.
I think he saw himself as an ambassador for this place. I really do, and he was very conscious of, you know, that when people heard the name Woodlan, they didn't just think, wow, they won a bunch of football games. They thought, wow, the kids played hard, they played together, they played the right way. I think that meant as much to him as winning football games, and he won a lot of football games. So, I mean, when you look at the win-loss stuff, it's kind of, wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, just what I've seen the last few weeks, that's a much bigger wow, I guess you can say. So that's what I'll remember about him. It's like, wow, that's unbelievable. It was neat to be a part of. So.
Wow, that was awesome. Anything you wish to add that I haven't already asked?
Can you think of anything?
No, he's, like I said, he's life well lived. You know, I think when he gets to heaven, he said, well done, good and faithful servant, and that's what he would have been.
Yeah.
That's what he was trying to, that was his end goal he was trying to get to, and I have to believe he did that, so.
Lynn, you have to?
Yeah, I mean, I just, he was always a lead by example kind of guy. So he just set such a good example for us, you know. He wasn't necessarily telling you, this is what you should do. Like, even thinking back to my first college degree, like, that wasn't what he really had in mind for me, but he just sort of kept quiet about it. And I think he believed that experience was an amazing teacher. And
Haley, how long have you been teaching now?
14 years.
Okay. Why do you like to teach?
I like that. I like hearing the student stories, like getting to know them. I like just interacting with them, and it's always exciting.
Okay.
So that's pretty much.
How instrumental were your parents in influencing your decision to become a teacher?
I think they wanted me to go to college, but they weren't specifically like pushing me one way or the other.
Okay.
Just figure out what it is that you would like to.
So when did you actually decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do with my life?
Well, while I was a student here at Woodlan, I had the opportunity to peer tutor and some of those kind of experiences through guidance, so that helped. I think that helped me decide that I did enjoy that type of work.
You like football?
You know, I am not really.
You don't like
no.
football? How can you not like football?
I know, right? I'm embarrassed to say that. Yeah, it's, you know.
So, okay,
I like sports, but this is my thing. I like playing sports. I don't really like watching sports. So I never was into football, so.
So how was that dynamic then? Because I mean,
Yeah.
that was a football coach.
Well, my father-in-law, and actually we didn't really talk about football outside of it. At home,
Okay.
it was separate. It was different, at family get-togethers and things like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I will tell you, he was my first boss working at the Dairy Sweet Farm when I was 14 years old, I believe. And some of the things that I learned from him were things that he would say, like 90% of all problems come from a lack of communication, things like that. And I think those types of things stick with me. And I think that makes, for not only in my personal life, but also with teaching, I think that's one of those things that talking with parents, with students, being able to communicate with them, I think that helps, So I always keep that kind of in the back of my mind.
Very nicely said. Anything you wish to add?
That's it.